Welcome back to WFMJ Community Connection. Sickle cell anemia, sickle cell disease, is one of the most prevalent among African Americans. Matter of fact, 1 in 13 Black or African American babies in the United States possess the sickle cell trait. So, why global patient registries are required for clinical researchers and biotech companies to improve access and make us more efficient across the entire population. I have the honor and pleasure of talking with Dr. Rajasimha. I hope I say it right, and I'm sorry, Dr. Raj, please forgive, but thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me, Madonna. It's my pleasure.
It is my pleasure to talk to you. Approximately 100,000 people in the United States have sickle cell and 20 million globally, with around 20% of them experiencing the severity of the condition. Why did I think that sickle cell was like a thing of the past?
Oh my God, no, not at all. It is still very much here. And the key thing here, Madonna, is we are so focused on United States only. And when you look at sickle cell disease, you're right, it affects African Americans, but it actually affects Africans, right? And so in Africa, there are 500,000 people affected by sickle cell disease in sub-Saharan Africa alone. In India, there is 100,000 people affected by sickle cell disease, whereas in the US, it's just 100,000, whereas it's significantly higher incidence in Africa, India, Middle East, and even rest of Asia.
Dr. Raj, I just want to know, and I'm just going to say, I'm Black, but why did I think that there were gene therapies and we make it easier for people not to pass along the disease? Why is that not shared in other countries?
Oh, great question. In fact, the first 2 gene therapies for sickle cell disease were approved in December by the US FDA. Great news, awesome, but the cost of these gene therapies runs in the million, $1 to $3 million.
Wow.
And it's a one-time treatment. It's a one and done, and then it fixes the problem at the root, right, in that individual. It may or may not affect their ability to not transmit that disease down to their next generation because we are not altering their germline or the germline that passes from one generation to the next. Now, these gene therapy approvals are very, very recent, right? Just last month. And so it offers significant hope if they can be made affordable or if the government underwrites the cost of it and reimburses the cost of it to the pharmaceutical companies that developed it. There are also other approved treatments, say from Global Blood Therapeutics, which was acquired by Pfizer. That treatment also has been useful to certain patients with sickle cell. Now, these treatments are not available in sub-Saharan Africa and India, and that's what underscores the urgent need for global patient registries and global access, because the burden is so huge. Like I said, it's like less than 5% of the burden is in the US. A significant burden is outside of US.
Wow. Doctor, when you look at the numbers and the expense, that within itself is unbelievable. I wish that the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA here in America, could collaborate with the government, collaborate more to make sure that this is affordable, not just for us here in America, but across the nation, across the world. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, there are some regulatory pricing barriers and others. The significant amount of cost goes into research and development, leading to these groundbreaking, life-saving therapies. Now, the pharmaceutical biotech companies need a way to recover that cost. And because if it's a drug, over the lifespan of a patient with, say, high cholesterol or hypertension, they would recover $1 million, let's say, on a daily, monthly basis, right?
Wow.
Because it's a one a day pill. Whereas if it's a gene therapy, it's one and done, but it has the same benefit that it fixes the problem today for the rest of your life, or at least that's the hope. Nobody knows the longevity and the durability of these gene therapies yet. as they are still very new, but they are expected to be about 20 years on an average.
Wow. What are,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sorry for interrupting, but what are the names of these two treatments?
I am sorry, I am not aware of the brand names of the therapies, but
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw something that said Lefagenia and Casgevy.
yeah,
Maybe I'm saying them wrong, and I apologize, but those are not available, or they are available.
they are available in the United States. They have been
Okay.
approved now, and so that's really exciting, right? And those who can afford it and are covered under insurance, that should be life changing for these people. If they choose to go through that, uh, obviously they have to discuss with their doctors and determine if that's suitable for them or not. It may not work for every single patient with sickle cell.
Sickle cell disease has a very bad or severe impact on families of lower income. That's just the way it is. And while the mortality rate is now 11 times higher than the previous day,
Yeah.
what can I do? I mean, what can we do? What can be done to make this go away or
Yeah,
solve the problem?
100%. During the process of developing these therapies, a process called clinical trials have to be taken place. And historically, the patients who get to participate in these trials are rich, affluent background, who are well educated, who can understand and sign informed consent forms,
Yeah.
that they understand the risk and benefit. Otherwise, it would be considered unethical to recruit a less educated, someone who cannot understand basically the risk and benefit of what the forms are saying. They should be able to read and understand and sign that form meaningfully. And so, those who have been left behind, partly because of that reason, but also partly because they have not been offered to enroll in the first place, just because they had bias that it may be risky to enroll patients with this type of socioeconomic background. And so that needs to change so they can participate and access these therapies during the clinical trials itself. And even after that, if they're covered under Medicare or Medicaid or other insurance programs, the doctor should be able to prescribe that to them.
I agree. I definitely agree. And Dr. Raj, because you are providing such great information, I want to know, is there a way that I can share with my viewers that you might have a website that I can put people and connect with you to see what you're doing with this gene therapy and how you're making it happen?
Absolutely. Happy to share. I represent Indo-US Organization for Rare Diseases, and we have a member organization represented by Sickle Cell and Thalassemia Patient Network, SCTPN, and so they are one of our 50 member organizations. And what we are doing is building collaborative bridges between United States and the Indian subcontinent, so we can make these therapies more accessible in the other side of the world. And for that, we are bringing patient advocacy groups, therapy and biotech and pharmaceutical sponsors, government policymakers, and helping create awareness and also patient registries, because when for research and development, these companies are going to look at these databases or patient registries to identify how many patients exist in, say, sub-Saharan Africa or in India or in United States. And we certainly have these registries in the US, and in some cases, several registries. But it'll be useful to have a single national or a global registry of all patients with sickle cell. Then we can analyze the data and understand the burden on a global scale and make this happen. So please connect with us at indousrare.org. That's indousrare.org. And my email address is admin@indousrare.org. Easy to find me on LinkedIn or on social media as well.
Well, thank you so much for that information and for joining me this morning and providing this vital information for me, for our community, and for us to learn and grow. Thank you.